Good evening, everybody. Jay asked me that later, so don't forget. All right, they're almost done. I have to put the garage doors in next week and put the gutters on. All right. Market trend still moving in the direction that we would expect it to be moving. I would almost think that if you took this trajectory right here, that's going to be your next target. Sound is very low. All right. We went back on standard time. I guess it was late Saturday night. All right, so the Dow was off a little bit today. NASDAQ was up a little bit today, just basically telling us there was no change of investor sentiment. The trend is still in progress. The S&P 500 also not doing much of anything. But notice where they gapped up. They gapped up right to this level the other day. If they start backing it off, more than likely they're going to bring it back to the T-line. Gap up in the overbought condition, but it did it right here at the resistance level. So now we have to see whether they're going to continue to gap up through that resistance level. Their consolidation in the transportation index has already occurred. Now we have a very simple trend analysis tool. If they open positive, doji sandwich, breaking out into new territory, that means the market isn't selling off yet. Distance from the T-line, large, which one is that? Ryan. Yeah, but not any more than what it was here. It's kind of running parallel, and notice what it's not doing. It's not coming back below the 3T. Same scenario on the Dow. Still in a strong uptrend as long as you don't see a close back below the 3T. Then you have a prospect you're coming back to the T-line. Oh, I see, Jay. Okay. Oh, it is. I have to change that. That usually takes me a week to figure out how to do that. All right. Made a lot of money today in short on crude oil. And a reason shorted crude oil, look at the kind of the slow curve here. So if we got wave 1, wave 2 going into wave 3, basically makes, let's see, from 92 to 80, makes down into the $70 range viable. And gold, kind of the same scenario. Now gold trades after hours like crude oil. Let's make this smaller first. Oops, let's make this bigger first. Let's make this shorter first. All right, we can see what we're going to kind of do tonight is kind of observe the obvious, just so you see what common sense built into candlesticks identify for you. Huge left-right combo, evening star type signal, started the downtrend. Hit the first support level, failed at the second, or came back down through. Notice what happened when they came up to the 50 this time. failed it once again. I mean, as soon as they hit it, they opened lower, then did a kind of a flutter kicker to the downside. First target, you got to kind of anticipate, is probably down here. So right now, gold is selling off. Now, as we can see, we had a big day. Now, a lot of times these are after hour or where they close it and they trade different after hours. But as we can see from a doji here, let's make this bigger where we can see it. If we have this that is logically heading for, let's say, the next support level down here, but if they start selling this off, we've got a potential doji sandwich to the downside that could probably get you down to this level in a very short time frame. So is it time to go short this with it opening lower after a doji? Well, that's where you kind of flip to your 10-minute chart. That's the 5-minute chart. Flip to your 10-minute chart. Well, the 10-minute chart is telling us it's not time to go short yet, because after a little cradle pattern here on the 10-minute chart, they're taking it up. So if you extrapolate that very simply on your daily chart, they're not selling it off, they're bringing it up a little bit. Does that mean there's a reversal? Probably not. What you do is, or what I do anyways, is I put a sell stop right here. Because if they came back down through this level, that pretty much tells me my daily chart is starting to come back down through the low, exactly the direction I want to be going in. And did that a few times today, trading crude oil. And there was times where short covered the short position. Went short again, had to cover the short position. Went short again and got that full move. So today's trading in crude oil pretty much bought another 66 Cadillac convertible. So now just watching it, got sell stops right below this level, because the logic says if they're supporting here and they break down through this level, they're going lower, which means obviously the daily chart is going to continue on down. Let's see what else. Again, this is kind of observe the obvious. This is bond prices, the 10-year notes, heading up, heading up. Where did it reverse? On these huge, huge reversal days. We're heading down. There's the next logical spot to start watching for a buy signal, or if you're short, you stay short until you see a buy signal at the 50-day moving average. Why would this be so obvious? Because everybody and their brother is watching to see what it will do once it gets back to the 50. So and we got the advantage of seeing what they did do once it got back to the 50 based upon what type of signal it created at that point. And the dollar, whoops, see this better, it's much smaller. What's the dollar doing? Basically came out of a fry pan bottom, strong steady uptrend, big bearish harami, big signal. Now a J-hook pattern. Price still going higher. How do you short crude oil? Is it treated as a regular stock? No, I'm trading the actual futures. So right now you're looking at the futures charts. Now I don't know whether there are stocks that are ETFs to each one of these. SEO, is that the one? Yeah, so there's your crude oil. That's the short. So you can be buying this one as crude oil is going down. Yes, Dan, all these evening sessions are recorded. All right, so those are doing J-hook patterns. Exactly why we recommended ESI. Notice how this one started with your best friend signal. Gap up. Hold on for a second. My Pandora. Stop playing my John Philip Sousa. That's just fine. Howdy do. There it goes. So, I mean, this is why we want to recognize what the strength and signals create and what type of patterns are created. So when they took this up hard, all the way from 4 to 14, they've brought it back. I'm pretty sure they're probably right back at our Fibonacci number, but basically they're at our T-line. And there's our left-right combo off the T-line. Tells us we're heading up. How long do we stay with this? As long as it doesn't close back below the T-line. And ACHN is another one that has been acting well ever since the cradle pattern right here at the 50-day moving average. How long do you hold this? As long as you don't see a sell signal and a close back below the T-line. So once we see the pattern, recognize the pattern, we know how long to stay in them or when to get out of them. Dougley. Let's make this big enough where we can see it. Same scenario. We had kind of a T-line crunch going. We had a little slow curve going until they closed below the T-line. This now gives us a completely different pattern to look at. Is a slow curve failure at the 50. That makes the 200 our next target, because what would that be? That would be our blue ice failure chart. So the reason we can get set up, or at least know what our probabilities of being short this one, is basically the pattern that it's creating. Now, if it had continued up, we'd had a different pattern. We'd had that slow curve, the bobble, where it hit the 50, came back to the T-line, and stayed above it. Yes, we're still in TGTX because it did close back up above the T-line. However, tomorrow it has to open positive and trade positive to stay in it. I guess is tomorrow night their earnings report. Okay, a few others that have good-looking charts. Journ, notice the T-line crunch here. Then notice once they went through the 50, the 50 acted as support. They've gapped it up through the 200 and did a doji. And what's our simple rule of a doji? If they open this one positive, you want to be buying. What happens after a big price move? Usually a 45 degree off of here. And there's that same scenario with a gap up, big move. And where did this gap up occur? The kind of a little mini belt hold off the 200, back through the T-line, closed at the 50, then gapped up through all these moving average as well as this downtrending channel. So this tells us wave 1, wave 2, now we're in wave 3, should be more upside to this one. And VNet, again, the advantage we have is we can see graphically what type of pattern or what type of signal or formation occurred at a resistance level. Here's kind of a fry pan bottom with the inverted dimple in it. But where did it break out? It broke out right at the 50 and at the same level that this all started. More than likely, they're going to take this at least back up to the 200-day moving average. So again, where do the fry pan bottoms break out? They'll usually break out when your stochastics are now in the overbought condition. Plug was one that we put out early in the chat room to say you needed to pay attention to this one because we were coming out of this fry pan bottom right at the 50, and they gapped it up through the 50, which told us there was more than likely going to be a strong day, which obviously there was. But that was just because we could see what the setup was and see where they were gapping up through resistance level. Everybody and their brother, if they saw it was going through the 50, were going to step in and buy we knew immediately to be buying because of this little pattern right here. Kind of getting rid of that fear of the gap and crap syndrome where it pops up and backs off. At least on a pattern like this, we know if it opens positive, it should be moving in the direction of what the pattern should be moving. Now, so this one, JRJC, slow curve. Where do we expect it to move to? At least the 50. And if it breaks through the 50, what's that telling us? That's telling us that this downtrending channel is not in effect anymore. There should be some strong movement after that. So again, all we're trying to do is recognize where a pattern and a resistance level and a signal may all be telling us, are telling that it's time to get into a position with a high probability there's going to be more upside. As we can see in FMI, every time it came back to the T line, they bounced it back up. So if we know this is kind of a bobble, once they got up to the 200, pulled back to the T line, and now they've come back up through, makes this very simple. Put a buy stop right here. If it comes up through there, it's in its next leg to the upside. So if we can recognize a pattern and a signal in that pattern, this is SAPE. Notice the fry pan bottom, and how did the upside of this fry pan bottom get started? From a big belt hold signal, confirming, which told us they wiped out a lot of sellers, that our upside trajectory should be pretty strong from that point. And as you saw today, they gapped this one up huge. So again, knowing what this pattern was and what this signal was telling us and what the results of that signal was going to be, this gave us that much more better probabilities that we're in the right place at the right time. There's one setting up right now, RDEN, belt hold, scoop type pattern, failure at the 50, and now kind of a doji sandwich up through the 50. Where do you think the next target is going to be? Probably up here to the 200-day moving average. Let's see what else we had here illustrating that. Anytime you see that belt hold during an uptrend, it tells you the profit taking's over. There's going to be more upside. And CVLT, there's that belt hold at the bottom. I pretty much told you this downtrend's over. Start watching for the buyers to step in because this basically wiped out all the sellers or sopped up all the sellers. Yes, so that was, yeah, we don't know why a stock is moving up. We just know that the pattern's telling us it's time to be buying. It could be because it got huge earnings coming up. It could be because of a buyout. It could be all sorts of things. We don't have to know that. All we have to know is that this pattern tells us it's time to be buying that stock. What did I just do? CVLT. Did that one. Okay. And SMCI. There's that bullish engulfing belt hold type signal. Gap up. Where is it? When they have a big move, what happens? You get that 45 degree off of here. Where's that 45 degree occurring? Pretty much heading for the same trajectory as what was prior to this pullback. So again, this is just kind of observing what investor sentiment usually does during a trend. Oops, that didn't work. If we can see a pattern setting up, Ross Stores, you just want to stay long until you see a sell signal. TJ Maxx, you just want to stay long until you see a sell signal and a close below the T line. TSL. There's that little fry pan bottom slow curve. Just tells you if this opens positive, our next likely target is here, and there's a gap to fill up here so they could get up here to the 200-day moving average. So if we know what the strongest signals are, such as our best friend signal, AU, can be bought tomorrow with the expectation that if they've done a best friend signal breaking through this downtrending channel, the T line, the next target is likely up here to the 200-day move. I'm sorry, the 50-day moving average. If it breaks through there, there's a gap to fill up here at the 200-day moving average. So is it going to get through here? Have no idea. But we have the benefit of seeing what type of investor sentiment is occurring once it gets here. It's either going to go through or fail, and that tells you when it's time to stay in or when to get out of a trade. Even when the ones are in the limelight, like GPro, Doji gap up, sold off, but came right back again today. It sold off on Friday, but this was the message. They gapped it up through the resistance level. So we've got a wave 1, wave 2 right here to the 50-day moving average, wave 3 starting. So that one was acting strong. Obviously bringing up AMBA. AMBA we started getting back into down here when you had that big left-right off the 50. Staying with this one. This one we closed out some, but bought it right back when it came back up above the T-line, because when it did this, what was it also setting up? For a possible J-hook pattern. What did this tell us right here? Bullish flutter kicker, breaking out into new territory, tells us we're in wave 3. They're going to take it right back up into this trend channel and possibly go higher on a 45-degree. And so when you get that kind of J-hook pattern, again, it puts you in the right place at the right time. Here's Iridium. Let's make this a little bit bigger. There's your inverted hammer. There's your breakout through this level. There's your slow curve. There's your flutter kicker signal, telling you probably you've got another wave in progress. Yes, Jay, the buy signal on GPro is the gap up. Doji gap up is your best friend. Now, sometimes they gap up and they immediately go positive. Sometimes with the profits taking coming in, you get ready to see when the profit taking's over, and then you start buying. But the message is here. Doji gap up. That's your best friend. It's a GPro. Iridium. BCOV. There's kind of your big scoop pattern. Gap up. Just stay long. This is a message right there that there's a whole new dynamic in this stock, and it's going to be a fairly strong one. UVE, kicker signal, gap up through the top of this channel, coming out of a fry pan bottom. Another one where you just stay long until you see a sell signal. Kicker signal on GPro. No, just a doji gap up. Remember, a kicker signal, forget, we just looked at a few kicker signals. Kicker signals when you have a big day to the downside. If they this had been the kicker signal, it opened here and closed here, it would have had to open at this level or higher and gone the opposite direction. All right, we're going to be kind of concentrating, because we're getting a lot of them recently, on a T-line crunch. Came up through the T-line. Notice what the T-line did. Kept crunching this trade right up through the resistance level of the 50. Means there's still going to be more upside. What did I just do? Okay. FRT, there was that T-line crunch that pushed you up through. When they break through the 50, what do you expect? You expect some pretty strong upside. SUNE. There's your T-line crunch, just got through. Even though you're up here in the overbought condition, you're coming out of a J-hook pattern, T-line crunch, through the moving averages. More than likely, you've still got a lot more upside to this one. All right, so we got the T-line crunch. We also have the bobble. Oh, that wasn't the bobble. That was the T-line crunch. This is what we call the bobble. When they come up, hit a resistance level, pull back to the T-line, and then go back up through. So bobble's in here, and then the next move is when they retest that resistance level, they take it up through it with good enthusiasm. XONE, that's a bobble. Came up, failed at the 50, came right back here to the T-line area, inverted hammer, doji, pushed it right back up through the second time. Where's your next likely target? The 200-day moving average. And PER, there's that J-hook type pattern using the T-line as support. Now they've gapped up through the 50 with a gap up through a resistance level. That tells you they knew there was a resistance level here, but they gapped up above it and went further. Where do you think they're going now? They're going further because this isn't a resistance level anymore, and it's coming out of a pattern. This one can still be bought. And VNet, somewhat the same scenario. Fry pan bottom, came right up to the resistance level. They gapped, or they opened it above the resistance level and positive. Your next target is going to be the 200-day moving average. The golds all came bouncing back today. And how do you know they're bottoming? Because if you're in a downtrend, where do most people sell? They panic sell at the bottom. So if you see a gap down in an oversold condition and see a signal, definitely like a doji hammer, start watching for your reversal signal being confirmed. If you're buying this right now, it's with the expectation that the worst case scenario is going to be that they bounce it back up to the T-line and fail from there. T-line is the 8 simple, no, the 8 exponential. Yeah, let's see, all right. SA, when they gap it down in the oversold area, start looking for a buy signal. Now you have a gap down in the oversold area, doji, followed by a bullish engulfing, your left-right combo, which is a very strong move. Worst case scenarios, they're going to come back up and test the 50. Not the 50, the T-line. And SWC, another one, not a gap down, but a hammer gap up Morningstar signal closing right on the T-line. Makes this very simple. If they open this positive, what's it telling us? Number one, it's telling us they're confirming the Morningstar signal, which is a strong reversal signal. Two, they're telling us that the T-line is not acting as resistance anymore. And three, if they break through this little downtrending channel, that tells you coming up through the T-line off a strong Morningstar signal that the uptrend is now in progress. Start looking for your next potential targets. Okay, let's see. And anytime you see a big reversal signal, that's going to usually lead to a change of investor sentiment. There's your big doji, long-legged doji, big bullish engulfing, or a big left-right combo that opened positive the next day. The probabilities are pretty strong you're in an uptrend. And how long do you hold it? Until you see a candlestick sell signal and a close back below the T-line. ELX. There was that inverted, there's the ultimate inverted hammer is your gravestone doji in the oversold area. Another inverted hammer, spinning top type signal, then a gap up. How long do you hold this? Until you see a sell signal and a close below the T-line. Where's your likely target? The 200-day moving average. STE, CSTE. Look at all the evidence in here. First of all, you've got a scoop pattern. close above the T-line, gap up, broke through this resistance level. What did the T-line tell you? It's telling you they were using it as support. Consolidation day, left-right combo. Consolidation day, left-right combo. And where can't they close this? Definitely couldn't close it below the T-line, and they could never really close this below the 3T line. If they can't close it below the 3T line, pretty much tells you there's tremendous amount of strength in that uptrend. The bigger the signal, there's your scoop pattern, big, you had your morning star type signal, inverted hammer. Let's make this big enough where we can see it. Right smack dab on the 200-day moving average. Right now, there you could be buying or buying right here as it broke through. Definitely want to own it coming up through there. And what's the result of a scoop pattern? Usually a strong slingshot effect to the upside. But probably not linear gain in power. Also engulfing. Let's see. If you have a left-right combo or a bullish engulfing candle where the engulfing candle is covering the range of previous 3 or 4 candles, does it make it 3 or 4 more times powerful? No, just makes it a strong reversal signal. Now, the more previous days that it does encompass, well, in this case, it really didn't mean much because notice what you had here. You had a series of dojis. If you have a series of dojis, that number one should tell you there's indecision going on here. And when you see that left-right combo, that pretty much tells you they've changed that indecision into a decision, and it's usually going to be a strong price move to the upside. All right, so on the short side, let me see if I wrote this down correctly. That wasn't it. NCMI. This is, again, this is where you observe the obvious. Do you want to be caught in something like this? Heck no. But you know that if we've come up, we're in the overbought condition. If it opens positive, it should be moving positive, except we're already in the overbought condition. And we're right here at a resistance level. Looked good, but where was a safe place to put your stop? Right at the previous day's low, because if it came back down there through there for any reason, it was showing you they were failing here at the 200-day moving average. Why would we be so prepared to put a stop right here? Because we had a doji sitting smack dab on the 200-day moving average, and it makes it very simple. If they came back down through the low of that doji, that told you that's the direction they were taking it in. So this is why you want to each night say, all right, this looks good. I hope it opens positive and trade positive, but it's already in the overbought area, which is not unusual for a breakout. But I better put my stop right here just to be safe. And then if you do that, and this isn't any sage advice, this is a voice of experience. Every time I've gotten lazy and didn't put a stop there and came back from lunch and saw this, it takes quite a bit of time to get all those losses back when all you had to do was put a stop right there and you would have kept most of your profits. So anytime you can see, that's not, how can you be so bad? What is that? Can't even read my own handwriting. Now, so anytime you see that doji at the top, just put your stop at the previous day's low. It shouldn't come back down to that level. Anytime you see that kicker, this is why you want to know your signals and your patterns. If we have a kicker signal to the downside, what's that telling us about this pattern? It tells us we're probably in a bearish J-hook pattern. And what's our strongest of all signals? A kicker signal. And if they're gapping this down on a kicker signal, what do you expect to the downside? More downside. And how far? Well, if this is wave 1, expect wave 3 to come down in here someplace. Ever have it gap below your stop and you don't get out? Well, if you remember, you're putting in a stop order, not a stop limit order. The definition of the two is a stop is if it goes through this level or lower, close out my position. If you put in a stop limit order, that's saying if it goes down through this level, sell it at this level. Well, if it gaps down below that level, they can't sell it at that level, so you don't get executed. So you always use a stop versus a stop limit. And let's see, what else we got? SN. SN are, this is some of the energies. They're all kind of rolling over again. Bearish J hook. This one's very simple. Notice we had today a bearish engulfing signal. Remember, if you see a bearish engulfing signal in the oversold condition, that pretty much doesn't mean very much. What you want to see is a bearish engulfing signal in the overbought condition. However, notice where this is. It's not quite in the oversold condition, which means if they're selling, failing here at the T line, and they open this lower, that tells us that if this support level doesn't hold, we're now in wave 3 to the downside. Offshore drilling, diamond offshore. Notice the failure right here at the 50. Then you had your left-right combo gap down. That told you they want to be out of this in a hurry. Why would we suspect that it's got more downside? Because notice which direction it's going. They're selling this off, and every time they come up to a resistance level, they're selling it off again. Are there any instances where you recommend a stop limit? Not that I can think of. Yeah, I can't think of a reason to use a stop limit. Now, I can't even think of even on a slow moving stock. And SSE, you can see this pattern. So right here, when it broke this level, let's make this smaller so we can all squint. When it failed here, I mean, you can see that the rounding top was occurring. And when it opened lower, what was this telling us? Telling us that this level wasn't acting as support. We're heading down lower. So that's the exact reason why this one looks attractive for a short, because if they open this lower and take it down, they're going through the support level here. Should be a lot more downside. CSOD, there's your dark cloud at the 50. There's your doji gap down, kind of evening star signal at the 50. What's this telling us is happening at the 50? They're not going through, they're going lower. Where's our next likely target? Now we can see there's a trend channel all the way down through here. They could bring this down into the, let's see, where would this be? Probably down in about the $28 range. TPZM, one of the biotechs, big biotechs, also failing right here at the 50. Telling us at least the first move is going to be down here to test this level. If they go down through there, there's your next level to the downside. All right, thank you, Don. And Dean Foods. Same scenario. If we're buying here, usually everybody says, what's your target? First target is wait to see what they do when they get to the 50. When I say wait to see what they do, what type of signals are we looking for? Something that blasted through or indecisive trading? Well, that darn thing is still around, isn't it? If we can see, number one, that it was indecisive trading, and number two, they got there by a gap up doji and then failed, Then they had another doji and gap back down. Where's the logical target for this one? Back here to the bottom of the trend channel. So there's a good 25% to the downside. So the reason I'm kind of going more detail on analyzing the charts is because I'm doing a whole set of observations that we kind of brush through pretty quick when we go through some of these sessions of, yeah, this is a buy here, or this is a sell here, or they're doing this or they're doing that. We're going to be taking the chart patterns that we're familiar with and say, here's everything you want to expect or everything you should be expecting that happens in a price movement, that either working or failing or is setting up to work or is setting up to fail, just going into a lot more detail. So guess with that, are there any general questions on candlesticks? Well, let's see. I don't think G-Pro was so much a double bottom as it was this kind of little trend channel. So no, I wouldn't call it a double bottom. Double bottom is going to be pretty close, or if it does bottom out, that the second bottom is a little bit higher than the first one. Where do you find post-market data? Well, I know that on Thinkorswim, if you've got your inventory or your portfolio to the left, it'll show where the bid and ask is after hours. But I don't pay too much attention to after hours because that's just wee little volume that could be moving a price around. How do you use the 3T or 3 EMA? Gray or CJ, we will go into that here pretty soon. I think, I don't know whether it's this week, we're going to be doing how to use spreads effectively. And then I think they've finally cleared my schedule enough where we can start doing some training sessions on Tuesday and Wednesday nights. And we can do one on the 3T, T-line, 5-minute, 10-minute chart process for getting in and out of positions more effectively. Brody, I use Metastock. I use Warden Brothers for my charting. This is CQG, which is kind of the grandfather of all charting services. A lot of charting services use their feed from CQG. I got started using it years ago, but it's effective as far as demonstrations and that sort of thing. Oh, Don, I haven't thought about a fire depressant system yet, only because it's all mostly metal. Let's see. All right. Ever trade overseas? No, I hardly even get out of the country, Alex. No, I don't trade overseas because there is more trading opportunities than I can ever handle just here in the New York or on the American exchanges. Let's see, Rusty, why don't I answer your questions? What were your questions? Did I go by them? Do you use market gainers on Yahoo? No. Is there any more? Would you move your stop up if a price is moving up after the open and keep it at the open to avoid being stopped out? Yes. If I'm in an overbought situation, and we'll probably get to some as we go through more, yes, I'll move my stop up. If something gaps up a little bit in the overbought condition and starts trading higher, after a few minutes, I'll put my stop at where it opened. Because if it comes back down through there, especially gapping up in the overbought situation, that's usually a time to start watching for profit taking. Yeah, convertibles hold a lot of water. So I'm hoping the roof will hold. When determining the buy/sell signal, what sequence do you use? Stochastics, 3T, AT, moving averages, kind of a combination. First of all, I want to see where the stochastics are, and I want to see where my what my signals are. First of all, I want to see what my signal is, then where the stochastics are, and then see where the T-line and the 3T line are, and then the other moving averages. So I just want, and that's not a long, difficult process. I can look at this instantly and say, all right, we did a doji, stochastics near the oversold area. They gapped it up through this resistance level. I took a split second to analyze that or visualize that. Let's see. Do you have a beginner's video on how to set up scans? Yes. It's on there somewhere. And to kind of go into that more depth, for those folks that are new, we do a 2-day training right at your desk. We start at 9 in the morning and we go until 4 or 5 in the afternoon, both Saturday and Sunday. Except we might change that format a little bit this year because everybody gets butt sore by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But we go through, we start with the candlestick signals, then the patterns, and then all the, and as we're going through them, you're going to get a full gamut of what indicators to be looking for, what support resistance levels, how to use the T-line, the 3T line, the 5, the whole gamut from start to finish. We go through stop losses. We go through entry and exit strategies. Then in the final couple hours, we do how to scan for the best trades each day. So essentially, when you're seeing bits and pieces of all this every Monday or Thursday night, you're kind of going through a learning process where once you go through the whole spectrum from start to finish, then when you come back to these sessions, it's now more of a reinforcement of what you've already learned than trying to figure out and learn it as we go. Do you have scans for signals and patterns for Ninja? Vladimir, I think we do. I'll have to ask Pat to see what happened. I'm pretty sure they got all our formulas. You're showing daily chart. What time frame do you use when the market opens to decide when to get it out? I usually flip down to the 10-minute chart. Now, if it hasn't been open for 10 minutes, I'll flip down to the 5-minute chart. And if the 5-minute chart is setting up, then I flip right down to the 1-minute chart. But if the market's been open for 30, 40 minutes, I'll see what the 10-minute chart is telling me. And that's pretty much how I trade. I was trading my commodities. For example, I analyzed today that they had taken crude oil up in the last night and failed at the T-line, and they were starting to bring it back down. And if they were starting to bring it back down, that told me this support area wasn't going to act as support. And if they were taking it down, we were going to be doing this type of pattern where they were rolling it over. And if they were rolling it over, this had the potential of being a big down day, which obviously it was. So right now, and so when I start seeing this where they took it up and start bringing it back down, I don't know whether I can find it. It couldn't be that far away. I think this is probably it in here. That may even be, what are we, on the 10-minute chart? I guess it had to be over here. Guess I made money here. I closed it out. Bobbed in and out a couple times here, and then reshorted here, and would have closed out if they'd closed it above, then got the big move to the downside. Why was I continuing to short it? Because the daily chart was telling me we're probably in this pattern heading lower, number one. Number two, expecting if it broke down, it was going to be a big day to the downside. So that, again, I use the 10-minute chart as my bellwether, then I'll flip down to the 5 and 1 minute to actually do the trades. Do you tend to adjust stops after the market is closed? Well, Blake, the reason I only got 10 positions at most in a portfolio is because I don't want to spend all night long trying to analyze what the what my portfolio is doing. I can analyze 10 positions in a matter of 3 minutes or less, and I can say, all right, if whoops, that's a 10-minute chart. If I'm looking at this one, I make my assessment. This should be going up, back up into this range. Where shouldn't it be coming back to? I'm going to set a stop here at the halfway point of this candle because I'm in the overbought condition. And if they open lower and start trading down more than halfway down this candle, that tells me I'm back into the trading range. So I can easily assess where to put my stops in less than 3 minutes every night. What platform do you use to trade futures? Well, I use the CQG, but CQG is the feed for, I think, TradeStation as well as Thinkorswim, most of them. So the feed is pretty much saying there might be milliseconds different, but I'm not trading anything that I care about milliseconds. I just want to see what's happening on the 10-minute chart. Loops, laps, yeah, laps are optional. 9 in the morning Eastern time, yes. Yep. It's going to be on the weekend of November 21st and 22nd, Saturday and a Sunday. Now, this year, we're going to try a little bit different format. Probably on Saturday, we'll probably go from 9 to 1, and then we'll probably take a 2-hour break, maybe a 2.5-hour break, and come back around 3:30 and go to about 6:30 or 7. That way, everybody's not getting brain fried and butt sore. You can get up and exercise, get some new steam, and then come back a little bit fresh. When determining support and resistance levels, do you give the shadow much weight or primarily the body of the candle? It all depends. If you can see that the shadow has all kind of come down at the same level, and this is not a good example, you're going to see pretty much where the congestion, where most of the trading is. If there's a day or two where the shadow goes below it, that really doesn't mean that much. But I just want to see where the major part of the trading is. Whoops, maybe it's November 22nd and 23rd. How about that? Let's see. I guess I could have looked at my own calendar. The 22nd and 23rd. Sorry about that. And it will probably be a little bit longer this year because now that I'm putting all the observable techniques that you can use with candlesticks to improve knowing when to get in and get out, that'll probably add another hour or maybe a little bit longer. Okay, let's see. Blake, I had 8 contracts on today. My old shawl. So that was enough. I got the major move. And then near the end of the day, when it started, it was right in here. Somewhere in here, it broke a level, and it might have been right here. I came back in. I closed out the 8 positions over here and then put 4 more on here with the anticipation that if this was a big down day, there's probably going to be 2 more big down days starting the next wave. So I cut the position in half after taking some good profits and reestablished half that position, anticipating there's going to be more downside. worst case scenario is if start taking it down, then I'll add another, add some more to that position. Do you wait for stops to rotate your 10 positions to better trades? No. No, at the end of each day, if I think something is still good, I'll put a stop just to make sure I don't get clobbered by some unexpected news. Then all part of that analysis is if I see something, it looks like it's getting a little bit toppy in the overbought condition and starting to see potential sell signals even though they haven't confirmed, then I've got to say to myself, am I better off closing out that position and going over to where I've scanned for 2 or 3 other good positions where my risk factor is much lower because they're in the oversold condition coming up and my upside potential is another X percent. Yeah, I'll close out the position if it opens weaker the next day, even though it hasn't confirmed a sell signal yet, and just move it to where there's a better probability. So if I keep cultivating that, again, I'm not trying to get every last bit out of a trade. I'm trying to get that big fat part in the middle where the probabilities are greatly in my favor. Nini, just the ones that I think are vulnerable, and or if I am planning to be away from the desk for a little bit the next day, I'll have a spot where I put a stop for every single one of them because I don't want to come back an hour later and see, is it this one? See something like this. I mean, that just hurts. So if I see something that doesn't look great, I say, well, I'm going to be out. It's trading up here, but I better put a stop right here just in case. So it's not because I do it out of great wisdom. It's because there's so many times I've been so lazy that I didn't do it and come back and say, why the heck didn't you put a stop right here where you knew you should have done it? So now I do it. And find out more often than not, I'm pleased that I did. The training is online. Yes, you don't even have to get out of your pajamas, which I don't do. You just sit at the desk, and we start at 9. And again, everything's in chronological order. So everything that you're seeing in these sessions where you get kind of bits and pieces of everything, it goes through and it starts really making a lot more sense when you see it all in order. It's a fee event, yes, but it's deeply discounted for members. Miami will have that out pretty soon. I'm just kind of forewarning everybody so you're not off shopping on someplace on Saturday and Sunday that weekend. When a stock trades below the T line during the day, when do you decide to stay in or see if it's trade back above the T line, or when you just close it out? If I see something trading down below the T line during the day and it doesn't look like there's any news, just kind of backing off, I'll give it to the end of the day because 2 things can happen. I can either sell it down here during the day or just wait to the end of the day, and if it doesn't move or even it goes a little bit lower, I sell it anyways. But if it comes back up above the T line by the end of the day, I still want to be in that trade. So if this was trading down here and there's only 10 minutes left to go, yeah, I'd close it out because it's probably not going to go back up back up above the T line in that 10 minutes. And will the training be recorded? I forget what the cost of the training is, but it's like half price for members. Do you look at weekly and quarterly time frames? Very rarely, unless it's for a long-term situation. If you get in on a breakout above the T line, are you still using sell signal and a close above the T line for the stop, or do you adjust for a higher entry? If I see a breakout and I'm buying, And if that breakout was above the T-line, yeah, I'm usually going to set my stop at the open or that it shouldn't come back below the T-line. We'll get to the individual ones here in a minute, Frank. Does the two-day trading cover the same material as your 13 presentations that you've offered when I decided to join? Ooh, probably. Yeah, it's not like we can invent new things about candlesticks. It's all just, I mean, the information's there, day in, day out, week in, week out. All we're trying to do is learn how to use it correctly. Okay, I guess Jim, with that, do the double line. Oh, see, you folks weren't even ready for this. Oh, and Jim, let's do the second double line. Okay. Now let's see. Would you move your stop up if the price is moving up after the open, or keep it at the open to avoid being? Usually, if it's moving up after the open, I keep it right there at the open. How do you know when to set your protective stop at the open or close of the prior day? Depending on where we are and how far away you are from the T line. We'll do a session here again on stop losses pretty soon. Oops, now I've lost the double line. There we go. Okay. IMPV. So if this had opened higher and bobbled around and started up, and I decided to be buying it up here, I wouldn't want to see it come back down through the open. Especially wouldn't want to see it come back down through the low. But, let's see. This one, I suspect, with the doji gap up, you're going to have a 45 degree to come off of here. UNG, kind of a kicker type signal, trend kicker up through the T-line. I would suspect your next target will be here. If it breaks through there, it's going up to the 200-day moving average. And US Steel. This one, you stay long as it stays above the T-line. Notice where it's come. After it gapped up through the 50, it's come back and used the 50 as support. You don't want to see it close back below the 50 or the T-line. If it did, it's telling you this uptrending channel is now breached and you don't want to be in it anymore. Oh, I don't know whether I get the ES, let's see, AZ4 over here. ESAZ4. No, it's a different ESZ4. Let's see if that works. No, I'll have to get that. I've been meaning to do that for weeks now, and I just haven't. Facebook, you stay short until you see a buy signal. And VHC, this one you stay short, but this one has to open positive and trade positive. Why? Because if it opens lower, it's going to be below the T-line, number one. And number two, look at the trajectory if it opens lower. It's rolling over. You don't want to be in something where the energy is now gone in it. CTL, just stay long until you see a sell signal. Notice it's trading right up on the 3T line. Hess, another one that Hess, I wouldn't be long. I wouldn't be trading this one only because of the lack of magnitude of move that you get out of Hess. Got another kind of institutional type trader. Freeport, stay short until you see a buy signal. FTEX, this one you get ready to buy. Now, if this opens positive tomorrow after a doji gap up And above the T-line, you want to be buying because it's going to come back up here and test the 50 again. And once you see it up there, then you see what type of signal it does to see whether it's going to go through or not. GWPH. This one needs to open positive, getting back up through the T-line again. This is not one of your enthusiastic ones right now. It needs a good pop to the upside to get it out of this congestion area. TZA, stay short until you see a buy signal. At this point, if I was short, I'd probably use the high of yesterday and today. If it comes back up through there, that gap down told us that was the bottom. New Skin, big fry pan bottom. All you can do here is stay long, as long as it stays above the T-line. Oops, let me scroll down a little bit. SSYS, another one with J-hook type pattern. Notice when it pulled back, it didn't do anything decisive. Then they had your best friend, Doji, gap up off the 20 through this level. They're going to at least come back up here and test the recent highs. Netflix, stay long, but if this opens lower tomorrow, you close it out and just wait for the next buy signal. It needs to stay above the T-line. SPCB, this one, you get ready to go short. You've had your sell signal at the same level it topped out before. Then you've got a belt hold bearish or a bearish dark cloud. If this opens lower, they're probably taking it back down here, which also coincides with the 200-day moving average. Let's see, GDX. Oh, there was a question on it. I forget what it was. This one, if you're buying, you buy it with the expectation that it could pop back up to the T-line, and then you just have to watch to see what it does from there. And GLD, you stay short until you see a buy signal. SHOR, you stay long until you see a sell signal. Oh, I forgot our still long RGLS because it did a doji gap up. Now in a very strong 45 degree. Sprint, somebody said Sprint was trading way down after hours. If so, yeah, Sprint has never really gotten off the ground for quite a while. The Russell might be some backing and filling. Each of the indexes did kind of a doji day today, which meant there was a little bit of indecision. You're up in the overbought area. You've gapped up. It wouldn't be illogical to think that they're going to come back down and try to test the T-line and see if they do a J-hook pattern from there. SanDisk needs to open positive. If it opens lower, it's going to be caught in the bobble after the shooting star up here at the 50-day moving average. I would close this one out immediately on a lower open tomorrow. Then just see what it does once it comes back to the T-line. T2, nothing wrong here, but at this point, I would probably just use this level right here as a stop. They should be in an uptrend. This is not a sell signal. It didn't trade above or open above the previous day's open, so it's not a dark cloud. It's just a down day and an uptrend. But if it came back through this level, I would suspect they're taking it back. They're doing some profit taking, taking it down toward the T-line. Disney, ever since that long-legged doji, then gap up after that, gap up through this level, you stay long until you see a sell signal. Did Netflix, AMGN. Another one where you stay long. Now this one needs to open positive. This was the nice thing about a doji. If this opened lower, they're bringing it back down to test the T-line. JPY. what the happened there? TGTX. You can see the big type wedge formation forming. This one, all you can do is stay long as it doesn't close below the T line. Now, if this opens lower tomorrow, I'd close it out immediately because that probably tells me they're bringing it back to the 50. CRR, you want to stay short on this one. Let's make this big enough. And let's make it small first. Notice where it's come from 150 down to 50, and there's no signs of buyers yet. Now, when they took it up today, they brought it right back down. I'd be ready to go short on this one because this one could easily go down another 20 points, especially if crude oil keeps heading down in this direction. If it rolls over some more, the oils are going to get hit a little bit harder, which means still like WLL long term, but we need to see some buying to start getting back into it. TRLA did a potential doji sandwich setup today. Let's make this bigger. And where did it start from? It started from the belt hold right smack dab off the 200, which it supported before at the 200. So anytime they open right here, I mean, that pretty much tells you where they're starting to buy, right on the 200. Secondly, a double bottom. Third, they gapped it up, back up through the T line. Now they're doing a doji sandwich. Makes it very simple. If it opens positive tomorrow, you're buying immediately. Expecting the same type of day tomorrow as you did prior to today's trading. Did I say that right? Expecting tomorrow the same type of trading they did on Friday. CBOE, stay long, but this is where I now have my sell stop right here. It shouldn't come back below this level. Why? Because they gapped it up in an overbought condition. Anytime they do that, you start watching for sell signals. This is where another simple one. If you see something move right smack dab to a resistance level, what do they need to do the next day? They need to open positive. If they open it lower, that means there's profit taking. Close it out immediately. What's the worst case scenario? They bring it back up through this level. You can always buy it back. And this one, if you're still in it, it has to open positive tomorrow and start trading up. If it opens lower, close it out immediately. That means they're taking it back down, probably in a bobble toward the T line. CLF, just stay long as this one stays above the T line. Noodles, nice slow curve. Fry pan bottom, cup and handle. Be ready to put a buy stop above today's high. If it comes up through there, confirming today's doji, it means it's breaking out to the upside. AVNR was having a hard time getting started. It's still in this fry pan bottom, and you still hold it as long as it doesn't close below the T line. ATEN, another one that you stay long as this fry pan bottom stays in progress. If I was buying, I'd put a buy stop right above both of these highs. If it comes up through there, it's telling me the fry pan bottom's starting to work. WFT, nothing there to get excited about. Another one of the oils that if it opens lower tomorrow, you got a bearish J-hook pattern in progress. You may want to start going short on it. And GNC, this one, if it opens lower, it's coming back down to test the 200. Again, there's your bobble. Failed, came back to the T line, went up through. Now the next step is they come back down to test to see if the 200, which was a resistance level, is going to act as support. So if it opens lower, you close it out, and then you see what it does at the 50. Nice J-hook pattern on this one. Stay long. CVG, what is that one? Very simple. If this opens positive tomorrow, you buy immediately. And then all you have to do is not let it close back below the T-line. Let's see, March soybeans. Whoops, those are November soybeans. March is H. Oops, H5. March soybeans, trading a little bit lower after hours. Just see what it does here at the T-line. It has to continue to support at the T-line. However, you've got a bearish Harami. You've got a bearish engulfing. This is where the 10-minute chart isn't going to be that active after hours. But that's what your 10-minute chart is looking like right now. So probably be more apt to start looking to go short on soybeans. Good Netflix and Taylor. This one you get ready to go short, especially on a bearish doji sandwich set up for tomorrow. And GLNG, this one you stay long as it doesn't close back below the T-line. Look for a positive open on this one tomorrow. I don't think IBIO has ever gotten started again. No, still need to see a buy signal in to close above the T-line. INFI, this one should have been closed out today. Closing below the T-line. You can always buy it back if you see the next buy signal, but right now it should be closed. Or if it opens weaker tomorrow and you still own it, close it immediately. Here's another best friend fry pan bottom breakout with a doji gap up. This is what we're expecting coming out of a fry pan bottom. PT, CT. Just stay long as it stays above the T-line. Whoops. SYBR. I don't know if that's... Anyways, you stay long on this as long as it stays in this 45 degree. I think AERI back and filled today. This one is more than likely coming back to test the T-line. So if it opens lower, you close it out because it might not stop at the T-line. And then you could always buy it back if it bounces off the T-line and starts coming back up again. Dark cloud, doji, if it opens lower, you close it out immediately. This one has to open positive to stay in it. AMGN, we did this one. This one needs to open positive also. Wynn Resorts, stay long. Nothing exciting, just stay long. And Micron, another one where you just stay long as it stays above the T-line. 3 T-line is too early below the T-line. 3 T-line entry is too early. No. Again, remember, the further away you move from the T-line is when you start using the 3 T-line or above the T-line. CBOE, just stay long. Don't want to see it come back down through the open. Did we do GDX? Yeah, if it bounces, it's going to bounce back up to the T-line. So the further away you move from the T-line, the higher the probability it's going to move up. So if you see a buy signal and a close above the 3 T-line, you can pretty much assume it's going to come back up to the T-line. ConocoPhillips, kind of a dreary, dismal trend. Plus, you're in the overbought condition. You just did a hanging man sell signal. If it opens lower, you want to be out of this one. Lilly, just stay long as it stays above the T-line. And VCRA, stay long. This one needs to open positive, though. If it opens lower, they're bringing it back to the T-line. And Coop, got in Coop today, got out of half the position on the close. It has to open positive and trade positive to stay in it, to keep that fry pan bottom trajectory in place. We did CLF, Apple. All you can do here is stay long. Southwest has a good chart to it. Stay long on this one, especially if it opens positive, you can still be buying it. All right, we did Disney, we did the Russell, we did BDSI, CMI. David L., are you out there? What are you looking at for tomorrow? CMI, stay with this as long as it stays above the 200. SNCR. This one, if it opens lower, you want to close it out and see what it does once it gets to the T line. And ABCO needs to stay above the T line to stay in it. YY, another one where you just stay long as it doesn't close back below the 50 or the T line. And UBNT. This one, if it opens positive, you can buy immediately. You don't want to see it close below the T line. No David L. He went AWOL again. Man, oh man. And EWC. This one you get ready to go short. You've had the dark cloud in the overbought condition followed by a bearish engulfing. If it opens lower, you want to short it. The expectation is the next target is here and possibly going lower. Now just remember the magnitude of movement on this one isn't all that exciting. Okay. PBR, I'll say it real slow. PBR. Stay short until you see a buy signal. Whoops. AKAM is probably going to back and fill to the 50. You don't want to see it close below the 50. Did Cyber Bida had a good looking chart the other day breaking out of the J-hook pattern. You can still own this one. You can be buying this one if it comes back up through today's open. That would tell you the bulls are still confirming the J-hook. Stay long on this one. I would probably use today's low as a stop. Just stay long until you see a sell signal. Whoops, that was NQ. NQ, nothing ever came of this one. Whoops. S.NG. I take it that's NG. Or NG's got a left-right combo. But natural gas, maybe it's the same. All right. QLD, another one where you just got to stay long until you see a sell signal. I'd use yesterday's or Friday's low as a stop. If it comes back down through there doing kind of an evening star signal, it'd be telling you they were taking it back down to the T line. IBRT, there's your J-hook pattern closing right on the 50, which means if it opens positive, the 50 is not acting as resistance anymore. You want to be a buyer at that point. And King, you can be buying. Just be aware that you've got congestion area. You don't really have a pattern. You got a slow fry pan bottom. So if you're buying, it just needs to get back up through that 50 very quickly. Exuberant selling for GDX. Yes, gap down. This is why you can be buying it with the anticipation of a bounce back up to the T line. Just watch to see what it does once it gets there. Earnings on the 5th. All right, thank you, Don, for this one. They've got something going. Just a caution, I show 117 as a fire line resistance on IWM, and it tried and failed to breach that today. Was reminded when Steve noted TZA was possible gap down Capitulation low. Steve called today. IWM backing and filling. And could be a bobble. Okay. All right. DDD. Nothing here yet. Need to see more strength. Now, its sister stock, XONE, looks a lot more promising. Rite Aid. This one you stay long, as long as it stays above the T line and the 3T line. You can just see what it does once it gets up to the 50-day moving average. And Yahoo, you just stay long also until you see a sell signal. Oops, you need a step here. The Japanese yen. I knew I recognized the symbol. PDLI. Another one you just stay long. Don't let it close below the T line. Japanese yen. See if I can get a better. Japanese yen, you stay short until you see a buy signal. You're in the oversold area. But I would suspect this downtrending channel is the target, so it's got a little bit more downside yet. Short MGI. Yes, especially if it opens lower. You got anytime you see that doji gap down, there's going to be more downside. Isn't it a potential short if the overbought stochastics cross down? Isn't it a potential short if the overbought stochastics cross down on overbought? If you're playing the stochastics, first of all, we're playing the signal. The signal is the first criteria. Then we go and see what the stochastics are doing. If you want to trade the stochastics, you're probably usually going to be a day or two after the signal has already occurred. Is Zen a symbol or is that a religion? This one, you stay long. At this point, I probably wouldn't want to see it come back down through this level. PAM. Yep, that's a good looking chart also. Okay. That is NG. Okay, Nova Gold. F.NG is natural gas. That's moving back up, more than likely coming back up into the congestion area. There's your left-right with a gap up, so they're moving it back up. I use 1233 on my stochastics. All right. All right, let's call it a night. Dow Jones needs to open positive. If it opens weaker, look for some profit taking tomorrow. Okay, everybody, have a good evening. We will see you in the chat rooms tomorrow. We'll see you then.